It's August Bank Holiday and you join me here once again at the Motorist today for Bank Holiday Fest featuring Auto Italia. Great selection of cars already on site, lots of Alfa Romeos including some classics. I've seen quite a few Fiats as well ranging across the era. Obviously Ferrari because it's Italian and you've got to have Ferraris. And some Lamborghinis as well, and I'm sure a lot more besides. So stay tuned and we'll go and have a good look around. So here behind me, filling barely half a parking space, is this lovely Fiat Nuovo 500. Nuovo meaning new in Italian, as this wasn't the first Fiat to actually carry the 500 name. Now this is not the earliest nor the latest example. The very latest ones had a strip speedo. This has got the original round one, but the earlier cars had suicide doors that hinged from the B-pillar here, and also this sort of sunroof area on the original cars. The fabric roof came further back. That was actually to save cost of steel was expensive at the time, and it was cheaper to put the fabric roof on than it was to put a steel one. Probably not the prettiest car ever to wear the Alfa Romeo badge is the Alfa 75, but nonetheless it's still a very interesting car. What I really like about these is the fact that these have a transaxle, meaning the gearbox is actually mounted at the rear. These cars are rear-wheel drive with the engine in front. That's giving the car as near possible a 50-50 weight distribution. Also, this particular example appears to have a Busso engine, and we do like Busso engines because they sound absolutely phenomenal. So we're blessed to have such a nice selection of Alfa Romeos this morning, but one such car that really does stand out in the crowd is this lovely Series 1 Alfa Sud owned by Jonathan here. Morning, Jonathan.
Good morning.
So what brought you to buy an Alfa Sud then?
It's not a particularly long story, but back in 1975 I was out with a group of friends following around the RAC rally. We were sat in our car waiting for a stage to open and discussing about cars and what might be good cars to follow such a rally and sort of around the country. And a friend of mine mentioned some obvious things, the RS2000, the 911S, and then said about the Alfa Sud, which I didn't know much about at that time. So I started to look into the Alfa Sud. I liked the design concept, the sort of horizontally opposed engine. It's got big inboard brakes at the front, big discs, very much bigger than you would expect on a car of sort of this engine capacity, which is only a 1200.
Yeah.
Disc brakes at the back as well.
Yeah.
So I started to look at road test reports, and it was getting such glowing reports about its handling and its dynamic qualities, its brakes, that I basically wanted to buy one ultimately. So I wanted to own one. So that was in 1975. I was down in South Wales at the time. I moved up to York in 1970, right at the beginning of 1977, and that's when I bought this car. So I bought this car in February 77.
Wow.
It's a March 76 car, and I bought it pretty much like this, and this is how I've kept it. So apart from very small amounts, the largest amount I suppose of respray has been the bonnet, but the rest of it is pretty much all in its original factory paintwork.
So it's been preservation rather than restoration then?
Exactly that, yes, yes.
Yeah, remarkable that you've owned it for so many years as well. That's wonderful. So you must have had some real adventures with this car over that time then?
Yes, I've been abroad in it twice. I went around Germany and also the Netherlands with the Dutch Alfa Romeo Club and the German Alfa Romeo Club. That's in fairly recent times, but from ownership I've been really all over the British mainland, up to the north of Scotland, in fact over to the Orkney Islands. I've been with it. My grandparents used to live in Devon, so I used to go down and see them in it quite regularly and tour the West Country. I've been down into Kent, into Norfolk, really everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere, except I've never been on to the Isle of Man on it, which with this car, because apparently the Isle of Man is supposed to be a great experience for petrol heads with the unrestricted roads and things.
Right, okay.
But I've not taken it there. But, So yes, I've been really all over the country with it.
Yeah, and obviously in all those years of ownership, you would probably know as well as anyone then the things to look out for on these cars.
The principal things with these cars was corrosion, body
Yeah.
corrosion. They were renowned for being very prone to it. So when I bought this car, I took the seats out, the carpets out, and all these sort of things, explored the bodywork and injected it with sort of Dinitrol type products,
Yeah.
which has really pickled it, you might say. And I've also kept it off the winter roads. And
Yeah.
I don't like to use it in the rain. If I'm caught in the rain, then I'm caught in the rain. But I wouldn't normally take it out if it's just raining outside. I'd just go in something else. But so yes, I mean the body everywhere really is prone to corrosion. There's not really much protection, and it's not particularly well designed in terms of dispersing water and drainage.
Yeah.
This is a problem.
What about things like your sort of routine servicing, things like those inboard brakes, for example?
Routine servicing, I always do myself. So in essence, there's no service history with this car with any sort of dealership or garage or anything like that. It's simple to service.
Yeah.
It's principally fluid changes. The inboard brakes can be a bit difficult.
Yeah.
They're not, when I say difficult, it's a lot of work for getting to the brakes.
Yeah.
In the end, it's just nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
So to release the handbrake cable, for example, which works on the front brakes, which is a bit unconventional, the best way is to get one of the seats out, which is only 4 bolts,
Yeah.
and then that exposes the handbrake cable at the inner end. Once you've got that released, it's very easy to get off.
Yeah.
The handbrake cable on these cars was a notoriously difficult thing to deal with unless you knew how to there's a dodge to get to it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I suppose there's always tricks, isn't there? I remember speaking to a gentleman with an NSU, and that had the front inboard discs.
Yeah.
But such as the pads, for example, there was so much space in the engine bay, you could literally reach down, you could sit in the engine bay and probably do them. Things like E-Type Jaguars, well, they used to cut holes in the back, didn't they, so that they could access the...
Yeah, for the inboards at the back. Yeah, with this one has got very good access for most things. The inboard brakes can be accessed from the bonnet, and to change pads, that's what you would do, and to bleed the brakes, that's what you would need to do. You can get in from the bonnet, but if you needed to take the calipers off, the discs off, then you've got to get underneath. There's no option. You have to get underneath and take your drive shafts off to get the disc off, and then that exposes the bolts, for example, the calipers. So it's a bit of work to have to do it, but in the end, it's not actually difficult.
Yeah. So in terms of the engines, obviously Alfa Romeos were sort of most known for the Busso engines, but prior to that, obviously they used to use flat engines, the advantage being a lower centre of gravity and, in theory, a better handling car. I trust it's a flat 4 in this?
This is a flat 4 of 1186cc capacity. It's single overhead camshaft, driven by belts. The most Alfa Romeos prior to this, and also running alongside this, would use an aluminium straight 4 twin cam.
Yep.
The Busso end you mentioned was, Busso had a lot of input to those, but he's mostly famous for the V6.
Yeah.
Which is, I've never owned a V6 Alfa Romeo. I've owned an inline twin cam Alfa Romeo. They're all lovely engines. Really, under the skin, all Alfa Romeos are racers in some form. You can tell by the design concept of this that it's come from a manufacturer which has been deeply involved in motor racing. So, so that was a large part of its appeal. Yeah, was that, I think. Yeah. So,
well, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing your experience with this fantastic car.
You're more than welcome. Glad to have spoken to you.
Thank you.
All right.
Now, another increasingly rare sight on Britain's roads today are cars like this. Alfa's flagship back in the day, the Alfa 165. I really like these, and I love this sort of two-tone colour scheme that runs all the way down the side of the car. Of course, it wouldn't be Auto Italia without a couple of Ferraris on site. Lovely red 360 here. I remember these actually coming out. Quite a radical departure from 355, which technically under the skin was a lot more advanced than the 348 that preceded it. But you could see that sort of resemblance in the body. This completely different, a lot more curvy than the car it replaced. Obviously, this particular one is a Spider model as well, and also this one's got the paddle shift in it as opposed to the gated manual. manual transmission. Obviously back in the day it was quite a thing to have a paddle shift, but I would say now probably the cars with the manual transmissions are just that little bit more sought after. So cars of the 80s and 90s have always been very much my era. Of course, dream cars would be things like a Ferrari, something with the engine in the middle. Things like a 512 Testarossa, the 308 are quite revered, but one that's a little less known is the Mondale. One such car we have here, and this is owned by Rich. Hi Rich.
Hello Mark, you okay?
Excellent, thank you. Now you were telling me you've owned this car for about a year now. What brought you to buying a Mondale of all things?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I was into Lotus Esprits, and I was tracking Lotus Esprits for about 10 years, and by the time I could afford one, they'd gone up quite a lot in price.
Yeah, they used to be quite a bargain, didn't they, Esprits?
That was it. That was kind of when I started looking, and then I thought, well, before I buy an Esprit, what else can you buy for similar money?
Yeah.
And then I was like, you can buy a Ferrari. Okay, so that was interesting. So I've been into cars for years.
Yeah.
But to me, I've never even really looked at Ferraris because it's just like, unaffordable.
I imagine the servicing cost of these. I mean, these are a V8, aren't they?
V8, yeah.
Yeah. So I imagine the servicing cost is probably a bit more than on an Esprit, for example. Obviously, the Esprits of this era were all 4-cylinder, weren't they?
Yeah. I do it all myself, that's the first thing. So the interesting thing about a V8, I've never had a V8 before, is you do the job once and then you have to do it again because there's another 4 cylinders to kind of do, spark plug leads, etc. But I've found it a really accessible car to work on.
Yeah.
So I've done the cam belts, fixed probably exhaust, ignition. Yeah, go on.
It's not been an engine out job then, like some other mid-engine Ferraris.
Yeah. So with this one, I mean, I think the final iteration of the Mondale, you do have to get the engine out, I think, for a lot of jobs. But for these ones, the access is really good.
Yeah, and I noticed this one's a QV as well.
Yes, Quattro Valvole, so 4 valves per cylinder.
Yeah, which was a big deal in the 80s. I think Ferrari, Lamborghini, they all had the QV badges, didn't they? Yeah.
Well, when the Mondale first came out, it was just it was a bit criticised for being not that quick.
Yep.
So the QV was Ferrari's answer to up the horsepower a little bit.
Yeah, and it was quite a strange car. Obviously, it's a 2+2 mid-engine, which is very unusual. It's not unheard of. Other manufacturers have done it, but it's not a very common layout. They also did a convertible, didn't they, in these?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was a convertible too. This obviously isn't one.
Yeah, obviously trying to squeeze 2 extra seats in and have the engine in the middle, it's not easy, is it? But yet Ferrari have done it. I take it the wheelbase is maybe a bit longer than something like a 308.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. What you do notice is the driver's position is very far forward.
Okay.
So you notice when you get in that you have to open the door. If you're in a garage, you have to really squeeze in because you've got to get yourself right. Kind of far forward from a more regular car. So you see where they're relative to the B pillar. Yeah. You're quite far forward.
Yeah. Have you actually had anyone in those back seats? I must admit they don't look too bad.
We've had 3 adults in.
3 adults?
Yeah.
That's not bad going.
Yeah. But I think we'd struggle for 4.
I mean, a lot of front engine 2+2s, I'd say there's no room in the back of them. This actually looks a lot more spacious than I might have expected.
Yeah. Like I say, we've had 3 adults in. It was a bit of a squeeze, but we got there.
Yeah. I must admit, I do love the styling on these cars. Obviously, we've got the obligatory pop-up lights, very 80s with that grey plastic bumper. Yeah. These grills in the bonnet as well. I love those. And we've got this Testarossa style side strakes as well, haven't we? Yeah. And obviously they did that in the 348, which came a little bit later, didn't it? So it's nice to see some of those sort of Ferrari trademark styles, but we've retained the round lamps on the back, which look a little bit more 308, don't they? 328. Yeah,
I think the round lamps are fantastic. I really like the look of the round lamps.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got the Ferrari grills. It's got pretty much Ferrari through and through.
So first year of ownership, you're not disappointed? It's living up to the dream, is it?
It really is, yeah, it is. And I can see it's just going to be fettled year on year, do jobs, get new tyres, get the bushes done, and just gradually, bring up the standard.
Yeah. So what's your favourite thing about it?
Well, apart from it's a Ferrari and everything else, it's the interior. What sold me, I wanted to get a classic, but I wanted to get something that wasn't full of plastic,
Okay.
And so, with it being 1980s, it's still that crossover.
Yeah.
It's a leather and carpet interior, not really any plastic. So it's just kind of it's just beautiful outside and inside. So.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure these, like I said at the start of the interview, these were maybe not the most revered model, but I'm sure these are going to start. They're not only going to go up in price, they're going to get more popular. I mean, they do look very 80s, and that 80s styling it's definitely on vogue again now.
Yeah, it's a handmade 1980s Ferrari with a V8, and you know there's not many of them left with a gated shifter.
Yeah.
It's a limited market.
Yeah, I was saying earlier again, that gated shifter, I was looking at a 360 and it's a paddle shifter, and I was saying how back in the day it was a big deal, this, you know, all this newfangled paddle shift, but now cars with the gated manual, especially Ferraris where you've got that nice sort of chrome gate, you know, those cars are fetching more money now, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a timepiece, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it certainly is. Well, that's excellent. Thank you very much for your time. I've really enjoyed having a look at your Ferrari. So if people want to see more of this car, I understand you've got some social media on it. Where would they find you? Yeah,
so if you go on Instagram, I've got an account called Today I'm Driving, and it's _today_I am_driving, and I talk mostly about the Mondale, but a couple of other cars I own as well.
Yeah, brilliant. So if you want to check out a bit more on that, go on Instagram and take a look. With so many cars turning up at events like this, it's often easy to miss cars, especially ones that are hidden away further down the car park, like this one. What we have here is a 1981 Ferrari 308. Now this particular model is a GTS. It's got the removable Targa top on this car. It's actually badged a 308i. Now the reason that's significant is because this was the year where they fuel injected the car. So prior to this you had the carburetted engines, but it's still a 2-valve per cylinder head. So this predates the Quattrovalve A1s, which are probably some of the more sought after cars. But it's really nice to see another survivor here. So I'm sat in this fantastic Fiat Seicento, owned by Mark, who has allowed me to have a sit inside the car and talk to you about it today. So this car is a Seicento S, so a fairly basic car, and the reason that he opted for this model is because he wanted to create this sort of homage, this rally replica. So he wanted a car with the wind-up windows, for example. Didn't want the sunroof. Obviously, if he'd have gone for something like the Sporting, it would have come with all these extra things that he didn't want in the car. So as you can see, this car is far from standard. The original door cards have gone. We've now got these sort of custom Sparco badge door cards, pull straps inside the doors. We've got these racing bucket seats with these fantastic harnesses on, really like those, and I really love this timing gear as well. Now Mark was saying he's not actually certified the car to compete, but he has done some sort of coastal tours with sort of stages where you can use the timing equipment. Obviously he also brings the car to shows such as this one as well. Now this car, the key to this car is lightweight, and even things like this trim down here and this steering column, you can see it's all been drilled out, everything to reduce weight on this car. As I say, the car's not fully certified as it doesn't have a full roll cage in it, but it's got the half roll cage in the back. As I say, we've got the racing buckets and harnesses. Back there we've got a net with a couple of helmets and radio equipment as well. So as I say, he's really tried hard to keep this true to the original. He's done a lot of research, looking at photographs and things of the cars that did compete in the Monte Carlo back in '99, and he's made every effort to try and keep this car as true and faithful to those original cars. Now this car has also got a set of Sparco pedal covers, which I really like. The pedal box in these cars has always been a little on the tight side, but that certainly isn't a problem. It makes it perfect for heel and toe when you're doing down gear changes. Another unicorn that was once common on Britain's roads, but not so much anymore, Fiat Bravo Mark 1. This one was a special edition called the Formula, came quite late on in the Mark 1 Bravo's life. It's a fairly basic car, it's a 1.2, but it's got a few nice extras on. We've got the colour-coded bumpers and some alloy wheels, a boot spoiler and a few other little accessories as well. Something we used to do quite a lot back in the day, especially on really sort of base model cars. We used to throw in a lot of extras just to make the car that little bit more attractive a proposition to entice buyers to come along and part with the money. So there's no shortage of yellow cars here today, with cars like this Abarth behind us here. We've also got this lovely Mark 1 Fiat Punto Sporting. Now this one does look to be slightly modified, but nonetheless Mark 1 Puntos really are becoming quite scarce these days, and I think these are going to become quite collectible. They're already becoming quite sought after. So continuing the yellow theme with this Fiat Coupe, I'm a big fan of these. Doesn't matter which engine it is. This is a 16 valve, presumably an NA one, so it would have been a fairly entry-level car, but I still like these very much. Obviously the ones that really command the money are the 20 valve turbos, especially the LE versions. But one really stunning car here, Lancia Fulvia, Fulvia 3 to be more precise. Never seen one in this colour before. Obviously I have seen the Zagato versions of these cars as well, but I actually prefer these, if I'm being totally honest. Quite an interesting car. Obviously Lancia was always very forward thinking in the design. They had things like disc brakes before other people had them, for example, and the Fulvia was known for its narrow angle V4 engine. Actually looked more like an inline block with slightly offset cylinders, but yeah, and I believe they actually canted them over as well to sort of keep that bonnet line nice and low. Really nice car. Now, one marque we haven't covered on the channel much, certainly in this video, is Maserati. One such car owned by Andrew here.
Hi there, yeah, Maserati Quattroporte. Had it about 18 months.
Yeah, excellent. And is it your first Maserati?
Yeah, first Maserati. I normally I collect Fiats and Abarths, but yeah, this came up and I thought it was too good to miss.
Yeah, certainly very different to a Fiat or an Abarth.
Yeah.
What was it that really attracted you to a Maserati then?
I think it was just the fact that you're not going to be able to see these cars in the future. You know, the big V8s. We're not going to have a chance to see these. Everything's going sort of eco and hybrid and electric.
Yeah.
I mean, all the Abarths are going to be electric by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So it was just a chance to own something with a big muscular engine.
Yeah.
No, normally aspirated, no turbo on it.
Yeah. So rather than go the halfway with a Ghibli, you thought, well, we'll go the whole hog and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
This came up. I knew the previous owner. Looked after it. It was up with somebody, up for sale with somebody that I trusted and I knew, because obviously one of the issues with these is, you know, getting a good one.
Yeah.
And it's proved fine.
Yeah.
And it's also great. Actually, it's great. Family car. We can take the my wife and the child out in it. We come to days like today. So yeah, it just ticks all the boxes.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's nice when you have something that's a family car that you can actually get a little bit excited about.
Yeah.
And I hear the engines on these, I think Clarkson described it as sounding like it was fueled by caramel.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, they are wonderful.
There have been ruder things about it, but yeah, it does sound grand when you start it. Hand-built Ferrari engine. These were built by Ferrari for Maserati. They had an agreement with them. V8. So yeah.
I do love the colour on this one as well, and with the colour in the wheels, obviously being that you're an Abarth man yourself, you'll remember the Maserati versions of the Abarth that they did. Were they about 32,000 or something like that?
Yeah, I never really understood that, I'll be quite honest, but I prefer the real thing.
Yeah, I think they were the most expensive special Abarth.
They were,
yeah.
They were. But no, I think this is, I prefer the real thing, and a bit bigger as well. But
yeah, a lot bigger.
If I want to play, I've actually got an Abarth 595, but a 1972 one, so the original.
Oh wow.
So I can play one of those as well, which are absolutely minute.
Yeah.
But no, it just ticks every box, and you know, when you're sort of collecting cars and things, the other good thing is the wife likes it as well, so I don't get too much grief over it.
Yeah, it always helps if you've got support from.
I've got buy-in.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's been lovely.
Drive it, mind.
No. Well, it's been lovely, obviously, seeing this car here today, and who knows, maybe at a future event I might get to see that 595 as well.
It'll be out again. Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
been worried that we might not see any Lancias here today, but yeah, we've got a couple of Deltas here now. Nice to see this one in particular. We've got a Delta Integrale HF16 valve. Now, quite often at these events you do see Delta Integrales. Quite often we see the Evolution model, so really nice to see this one. Sadly, I've not seen one of the more standard models in quite a number of years. Obviously, these cars were known for suffering quite badly with rot, and obviously maybe people just didn't see fit to preserve them at the time. But as I say, nonetheless, even these sort of rally-derived cars, really nice to see them. One thing of note with both of these here, of course, is that the left-hand drive, because these hot versions, they actually only built them in left-hand drive. Now, as always, there's a lot that I didn't manage to get around today, being that there's so much here to see. Obviously, I have to mention we have a big turnout once again from the Abarth owners. Always get a lot of Abarths here. Quite a few Seicentos and Cinquecentos as well, and some Pandas. Again, really dedicated owners clubs that always turn out en masse to these events. I have featured a lot of those cars in previous videos, so I wanted to try and shine a spotlight on some of the cars that we might have not had on the channel before. Obviously, more videos still to come. I have got some car reviews coming up as well, so again, make sure you do hit that subscribe button and the bell notification, just to make sure you don't miss any of those future videos. I've had a wonderful time here at the Motorist today, seeing some really fantastic cars. Hopefully you'll join me on the next one, and who knows, maybe I'll even see you in person at an event. If you do come along to any events and you've got an interesting car, by all means come up and say hello, have a chat with me. Maybe we'll even feature your car in one of the future videos. Until next time, it is goodbye from me. Thank you very much for watching. See you on the next one.